All right, well, episode 32. So December is here, right? And my house is in the holiday spirit. It's full swing. Everything's ready. But for some reason, it really didn't happen very naturally for us this year. My fiance and I kind of looked at it as like more of like a hassle, I think, this year. And we were all bah humbug and we broke out the decorations and finally we're like, okay, like we can't miss out another holiday. Let's do this. Let's do it right. Let's get everything out and clutter our house up to no end. So that being said, you better strap on those sleigh bells because today I'm going to talk about all things Christmas, the best and worst traditions, the gift giving, the music and the movies. We're just going to deep dive into everything, good old Saint Nick. So here we go. First, let's talk about Christmas decorations. I grew up a fake tree kid, personally myself. I don't think we had a real tree in the house until I was probably in high school. And even then it dried out just pretty quick, For me, it was you go into the garage, you get out these massive boxes of just tree parts. And for the next hour, you were just being put to work. You had to not only assemble the tree made of rusted metal pieces and spiky artificial branches, but you had to spread them all out, accordingly so it resembled an actual tree, or else you just have these really shrunken branches that were sitting in a box all year. But I mean, to get it right, you really had to go deep in there. You were moving almost every branch to its new spot, and after that your hands were just beat to shit, man. It was horrible. They were all calloused and dry, and the whole time I was like, man, I wish I was one of these kids with a real tree, like this can't be it. This is the holiday season and I shouldn't have to be put to work like this in order to just have a little holiday spirit. But being a fake tree kid, one of my favorite parts as I grew older, year after year, you use the same tree and those green bristles would just fall off the tree more and more every year. And so by let's say the fourth, fifth year, these boxes, half the tree would just be in the bottom of the box or they'd just be falling out whenever you were moving branches. So each year the tree just got bare and bare just because over time, that's really what happens. And we never got a new tree. It was always the same tree. We probably had the same tree for at least 15 years until finally someone said, what, this is enough. It served its purpose. As an adult though, we have a fake tree as well. It's not it's barely 6 feet maybe. It comes in 3 pieces. It's super easy. The lights are already wrapped around it. You can get the whole thing just assembled and decorated in 30 minutes flat. So that's really great. I didn't realize it really until I was older, but I think the real tree life has its own difficulties though too. You never really realize it when you were younger, but you had to pay for the tree every year, which is a hassle, and you had to go get it, obviously, which is another hassle. You had to tie it to the roof of your car, lug it home. You had to drill holes in the bottom of it so that water can get into the tree and it will stay alive for a long time. And then you have to, finally, after the season's over, right, you have to figure out how to dispose of this somehow, this massive tree. I don't really know how you even do that. But yeah, for me, it was you can just put the tree away every year. If you just put it away, you put it in your attic or your garage and you break it out next year. But real tree people really have a lot to do. You got to keep watering it too, which is another huge hassle. So I completely understand. I sympathize with you real tree people, but I'm a fake tree person. And I think the happy medium to all of this though is by getting a real wreath. That really is that's the ticket. So Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever it is, all these places also offer wreaths. And what you do is you really you grab a wreath, you put it up next to the tree. It still makes the house smell good. It's not dirty, really. It doesn't get bristles everywhere. You spray with water every couple days to keep it fresh and keep it new. And you still got that real tree, that pine, sense of smell in the house. It's nice. You can even swap them out. I think they're maybe $15-20. So that is a thing to do. That's a veteran move. Feel free to use it for your next for your next holiday season. But one thing I don't like about all of the Christmas decorations though is, like I said, it feels like there's just shit everywhere, right? Your house is so cluttered. And I think we have a pretty like minimalistic style in our house. We don't have like too much just shit everywhere. But come Christmas time, it always feels like there's just a lot. And in the future, when we have like real disposable income and money, I think we need to get just rid of everything and just start over by a few nice pieces, a few nice decorations, maybe some nice pillows, blankets, some stuff from like let's say like a Crate and Barrel. I'm sure has some nice things. Yeah, but right now it's just like our house is cluttered with hand-me-down like little decorations that one of my grandparents had given us. It was basically shit from probably like the 70s that they don't even want, and then like dollar store items. So it's not a great look, I would say, but it's at least it's something. Next comes decorating the outside of the house. And every year growing up, my house and then usually one or two of our neighbors, we'd put up our lights all together to decorate the outside of the houses. We'd have like a potluck in someone's garage. And my role for the first like 5 years was solely just untangling the strands of lights. And man, that job was a bitch. That was a bitch of a job. I hated it. You just be given this ball of lights and you were just like, damn, here I go. I mean, I don't even know how these lights got so tangled every year really, but I'd just have to get all the knots out. I'd have to test them. I'd have to replace the bulbs if that was necessary. And mind you, my hands were already like calloused and dry from the tree fiasco. So by then it's like this was the most labor I've done all year. I was really struggling, and I was working for that potluck soup. But yeah, it was rough. It was hard. It's hard work. But then as I got older, you get a little bit more responsibility, and it was my time to like go up on the ladder. Right now, I don't really fuck with heights too much. I don't have like a huge heights fear, but I obviously I don't like being up there. And putting up lights involves a lot of maneuvering. You've got a staple gun in one hand, and then you've got the strand of lights in the other. But it was just, there's a lot to hold on to. Meanwhile, you're trying to balance, and it's just bad, right? And one of my neighbors had a daughter who was my age as well. And this girl was just fearless. And she'd be up there, just like walking around on the roof like it was just another day. And it really pissed me off, honestly, because I just knew I was being judged. Like here's a boy that's the same age and he's just on the ladder, just white knuckling it, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I have a bad memory about it most of the time. And it was just hard. It was hard. I was a very scrawny, awkward, just kid. I wasn't very, I don't know. I didn't really grow into my body yet. So I was just awkward. I was lengthy and loose, and I just had a lot going on. I had lights wrapped around me, the staple gun that you had to really press down on. It was just a lot to handle. But one controversial topic regarding Christmas decorations are those massive inflatables that people put out in their front yards. We had like one or two usually growing up, but as an adult, I've never purchased one. They are such like a hit or miss for me, I feel like. And I think you can really divide like Americans into like two separate groups. Are you pro-inflatable or are you anti-inflatable? And my fiance is definitely an anti-inflatable person. I think I'd have to fall in that category really as well, to be honest. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're always like knocked over by the wind, or like during the day, it looks like something happened to your yard. Like it's a crime scene. You just have like a dead snowman just blanketing the ground, and you don't know, like it just looks like a wreck right during the day. So for that reason, yeah, I'm not that big on inflatables. I know a lot of people are, and like sometimes like there's houses with just way too many inflatables. Like they've got like 10 inflatables. They got one on the roof. It's just a lot, and you got to think about like during the day. To me, for some reason, there has to be some invention in the next 5 to 10 years that handles the day aspect of the inflatables. Like bring it all into like a little gift thing or whatever, and so during the day it just looks like there's presents around the yard or something. I don't know, but figure it out. It's not a good look. I'm not a fan of them. Next, let's discuss Christmas music and movies. Personally, I'm a big fan of Christmas music. I know a lot of people aren't, but I remember one year, I started listening to Christmas music like in early November, which is pretty wild. Like to me, it's just fun. It's nostalgic. It's great. For me, growing up in the desert, and the weather doesn't really get cold until like mid-December. And by cold, I mean like 60 degrees, right? And so you really need something to make it feel like it's the holiday season. And that's where the Christmas music comes in for me. It really makes me feel like, all right, it's time to get the holiday season into go time. This is the start of it. Hearing Bing Crosby, hearing Michael Bublé sometimes. My fiance always has to hear the Justin Bieber one for a while. That I'm not a big fan of that, but it's okay. We work our way through it. But yeah, I actually came across Billboard's top 100 Christmas songs of all time, and honestly, I was a little disappointed, if I may say. So I'll give you the top 5 just for reference here. Number 5, Bing Crosby, White Christmas. Number 4 is Wham, Last Christmas. Number 3 is Nat King Cole, The Christmas Song. Number 2 is Darling Love, Baby Please Come Home for Christmas, obviously. And number 1 was Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. I guess my biggest beef with this list is Mariah Carey's number 1 spot. I disagree with that completely. It's just, I don't know. It's a hit or miss. I think that song, it gets overplayed. I'm not a big fan of her to begin with. And, I think you need kind of like a classic Christmas song like White Christmas in that number 1 spot. So I'm just going to give you my top 5 just for reference so you can see where I'm coming from. I think it's a great top 5, but that's obviously just my opinion. So here we go. Coming in at number 5, I have Augie Rio's Donde Está Santa Claus. It's fun, it's lighthearted, and you can't just not sing along. It's great. Number 4, Bruce Springsteen, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. I think Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band simply just made a Christmas banger. They didn't need to do this, but they went out there and they gave it their all, and they delivered, I think. So it deserves a spot in the top 5. Number 3, Dean Martin, Baby, It's Cold Outside. This one I found has a little bit of controversy around it, just because he basically is saying he wants the girl to stay the night, right? He's like, drink a little bit more, cozy up next to me by the fire. And he keeps making up all these excuses, and she's just like, no, I don't want any of this. But regardless, I think it's a great song. It's a great duet. Times are different now. I think you can't cancel Dean Martin or this song. It's a classic, great song. He didn't even come up with the song. It's his version that I like. But anyways, yeah, it's coming in at number 3. I don't care what everyone says. I like the song. Number 2, Frank Sinatra, Jingle Bells. It's a classic. You can't beat it. The way he spells out Jingle Bells is a fun little twist that he adds to the song. So I like that. And then finally, number 1, The Drifters, White Christmas. I think this is another great, just amazing duet. It's nostalgic. It's upbeat. It's what you want to hear really at any Christmas get-together, I think. It's the perfect song because it's that classic, but it's still fun and upbeat, and it's great. It's great. You just can't. It's in my head right now, and if I could just sing it, I would. But unfortunately, I can't due to copyright claims, right? That's my alibi there. But a perfect segue into this, I think, is Christmas movies, especially because Frosty the Snowman. It's a song, it's a movie, but regardless, I hate both of them. I think it's the absolute worst. And this is a rant I go on at least once a year with someone who asks me about this, because I just get so upset whenever I hear Frosty the Snowman. I change the song almost immediately. But just hear me out for a second, right? So this snowman comes to life, and he's like, guess what, kids? I'm your problem now. You need to take me somewhere cold or else I'm going to die, and that's on you little shits. So these kids obviously feel so obligated to do something, right? So they go on this big adventure. One of the kids, I think the girl gets like pneumonia or something and nearly dies just because it's her problem, right? And she goes out she's trekking around the snow the whole day, or God knows how long they've been. There's someone following them because he's trying to get like the magic hat, right? But it's irresponsible, I think. It's irresponsible on behalf of that snowman to put his life onto all of these children. They didn't deserve that. They were just building a snowman, and all of a sudden their day was filled with trying to take this guy to the fucking North Pole or wherever he had to go. So yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't like it, and I think it should be banned permanently from the world. Sorry, Frosty. But some Christmas movies we've watched so far this year are The Holiday, which was a good rom-com, right? I have to thank Jude Law for this, because for making a bald man, look somewhat desirable. But I guess in comparison to Jack Black, a lot of looks can be desirable. But we watched that. We watched Christmas Vacation, which is one of my favorites. And then it was her first time watching Die Hard this year as well. And she agrees that it is, in fact, a Christmas movie because I think it's on Christmas Eve, right? Yeah. So yeah, those were the three we watched this year so far. They all been pretty good, so definitely have to check off a few more of that list. But I'll tell you what, though, I am not a fan of sequels, really, of Christmas sequels. I think Home Alone 2 is only good. All the other Home Alones, trash. The other Die Hard movies, trash. Tim Allen's The Santa Claus 2 through God knows what is trash. I heard there's possibly going to be a Grinch 2, like Jim Carrey all of a sudden is down to do a Grinch 2, which I don't really like that. I mean, just leave it alone, you know? It's great as is. It's a great standalone film. Just leave it as is. Will Ferrell, I think, is the only actor who had the integrity to really turn down the money and not move forward with an Elf 2. I think he was like, no, you know what? I don't want to ruin the first one. It was great. Let's leave it as is. But, you know, speaking of Elf, I thought of something the other night and asked my fiance, I said, what's the earliest age you would let your kid watch Elf? Obviously, because it plays with the notion that, you know, Santa Claus isn't real. And that kind of really snowballed into a larger conversation, if you will. But I stopped believing in Santa Claus probably around like third grade, I want to say, which I think is completely acceptable for around that timeline to really stop believing in Santa Claus. I don't know the age. I would assume it's like 8 or 9. I don't know how old you are in that time, but we both agreed you should not be making it out of elementary school still believing in Santa Claus. Before you graduate 5th grade, you need to know, like, hey, you got to sit you down. This isn't real. It's been me the whole time. I'll accept a thank you. But I personally don't remember it really being like a big deal or making a big deal out of it. It was never something that was actually like addressed to me. But I know my older sister had a big issue with it. I wasn't there for the conversation, but I remember she lost a tooth. And I think she caught my mom filling in for like Tooth Fairy, right? Being in full Tooth Fairy mode. And then she just made the connection right then and there that, like, you know, all fictional characters are obviously not real. And from what I've been told, she had a complete and utter meltdown, which did not go over well. But as I've talked about it in previous episodes, my brother and I really do have a pretty big age gap. So as he was able to grow up, we were really still able to play along, and it was just really fun. You know, it was fun for all of us because, like, I was now in the know and I was able to just watch him kind of have some fun. And that's when we introduced Elf on the Shelf, which I think is one of the greatest parenting scams of all time. You know, if you fuck up, you better hope that that elf wasn't fucking watching, because he's going to give a full report on Christmas Eve. This is just an ingenious idea, I think. But Elf on the Shelf did come with a lot of responsibilities. You know, you had to move him around a lot. And for me, the best, as just watching this happen, the best was when we'd forget to move the elf overnight, right? You have to move him to a different spot. And my brother would wake up the next morning and he'd just be like, why is the elf in the same spot? You know, like, why didn't it move? And we'd be like, oh, like, he just really likes that spot. I don't know. And, or like other nights when like we'd put him up somewhere like really high, and then like, I don't know, like the air conditioning or the heater would pop on and he'd fall off or something. It'd knock him down. So my brother would come downstairs again and he'd be like, what happened? You know? And you'd just be like, oh, must have had a rough night. You know, I don't know. But my brother would be like, did he die? And he'd be like, nah, he's good. Don't worry about him. But yeah, so that was always really fun. Really though, the majority of our Christmas traditions would come on Christmas Eve. We'd wake up early and head to the only mountain that really ever got snow around us. And we'd go sledding, so that was really fun. But this was like a 45-minute drive, so like even if there wasn't snow, like you were sledding. Like your parents would make sure, like, hey, you're getting on this fucking sled and you're going down the mountain a few times. And you'd just be, you know, you'd be holding on to that sled. You'd be taking like ice and rocks to the face, and the ground was like cement hard. And if you hit a bump at all, you know, like, your ass was bruised for like the next week. It was really rough. You know, your face would be all like road rash almost from all of the ice coming up and hitting your face. So it was definitely an exciting time as a kid, I'd say. Yeah, I mean, 10 out of 10, you know, best way to start the day. I will say that like it was definitely a good way to like tire your kids out because we'd wake up really early, we'd be all excited, we'd get a lot of energy out during the day, and then by the end of the night, like I was exhausted. It was rough. And then not to mention, there was another horrible Christmas tradition that we did on Christmas Eve, and that was the Feast of the Seven Fishes. So if you're not familiar with this Catholic tradition, this meal typically consists of 7 different types of seafood dishes. And for me, it was brutal. I mean, I don't really mind seafood in general. I like sushi. I like fish now and again. I don't really eat it that often, but just all of that together in one meal is just way too much. Like the house just stinks, and it's just so much to just take in all at once. All these different, it was. And one year, I got food poisoning from it. I got so sick, and it was just the worst. I was throwing up all night. Meanwhile, Saint Nick decides to sneak in and just help himself to some cookies and milk. I was so sick, and the next morning I was just exhausted. I didn't sleep the whole night, and it was rough. That was a rough Christmas. But yeah, this meal it's the worst tradition. I don't know why we do it every year. It's really hard to get down. And so most of the time I'll like try to eat before and then just like put a bunch of little stuff on my plate and scarf it down. But yeah, the Feast of the Seven Fishes is rough. And I don't know why fishes is plural. It's said plurally like that. I know how you're supposed to say fish is plural like fish, but for some reason I don't know why it's 7 fishes. That's another problem I have with the tradition. But yeah, it's bad. I'm sorry if you have to go through that as well. But despite some of the bad years, I can look back with positive memories about the holidays. It was a great time. Where I really struggle with now is kind of like the gift giving aspect of it. I'm really bad at accepting gifts. I give zero emotion when I open something up, and it really wrecks some people when I'm just like, because I don't know how to act. And my fiance and I, we don't even give gifts on Christmas. She usually gets too excited and we exchange gifts like days in advance. And I'm fine with that because I don't really want to ruin her holiday if she gets me something special, right? That she views as special and I get it and I'm like, hey, thanks, and that's the best you're really going to get out of me. Like, thanks, this is great. And I've tried for 20 years, to really give it my all. And I really don't know how to act in those situations. I don't know what it is, but it's really hard for me to just be like, hey, thanks for this. I do like giving gifts myself. Like I try to put a lot of thought in a lot of my gifts. Like I'll really save some stuff throughout the year, or like try to listen to something that you actually want. Like, and it's only a few specific people, right? But there's some gifts I have in mind for some family members. I haven't done any shopping so far this year. But yeah, there's some little things I have in mind that I'm like, okay, like I can get this person something like this. Yeah, so if you need to do some gift shopping, get ready. Christmas is coming up. It's coming faster than you think. Like I said, I haven't done any shopping at all, so I've got a lot to do. And not to mention, there are like 2 family birthdays in the month of December. We're getting married at the end of the month, so it's coming fast for me. I've got a lot to do. But, that's just part of the hustle and bustle of the holiday season. But thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Hopefully by next time I'll be a little bit more prepared. Maybe I'll have some like gifts wrapped up, ready to go, waiting over here. I don't know, hopefully. But yeah, that's really it. If you have any holiday traditions you'd like to share, I'd love to see them. But in the meantime, I will talk to you next week.